Those who live with having murdered someone must carry quite a lot of guilt. I can only imagine how hard it must be to sleep at night knowing you've taken another person's life. Some think that I had to deal with that guilt. Many years ago, I was written off as a murderer. They say I killed my husband. But I am not the one that had to lay in bed at night with that mind-numbing guilt. No, it was not me who did it. I don't know who murdered my dear sweet Charles, but I certainly have my suspicions. Will you hear my story? It's been so long since anyone has stopped to listen to my side of the story. I won't keep you but a moment. It won't be long. Please gather in, gather round. You can come a little closer.
Good.
Well, it all started when Charles and I moved to Tulsa from Illinois in 1907. I was his second wife, and we married when I was just a teenager, but we had 2 children, and we were very much in love. Charles was a well-respected attorney here in Oklahoma, and we lived in the nicest neighborhood and went to the most grandiose parties. Life was perfect. That is, until one night when a man broke into our house to rob us. We awoke to the sound of shattering glass. Charles, in a panic, he jumped up and he ran downstairs. I sat up silently, and as I did so, a gunshot rang out. I too rushed downstairs to see what had happened, only to find my dear husband dead on the floor. It's a sight I will never forget. If there is anything that kept me awake at night, it was the sight of my dear sweet beloved bleeding out on the parlor floor. I was arrested after Charles's funeral. They said they had evidence that I murdered him. I was incensed. Why would I murder the man that I loved, the father of my 2 children? It made no sense. I was granted a trial here in Bartlesville, despite the incident having taken place in Tulsa. I liked this town. I liked the welcoming people and the grand hotels. In Tulsa, they already made up their minds about me. But here I felt I could get a good trial. The prosecutor stated that I was having an affair, and I murdered my dear husband in an attempt to get out of our marriage. While it is true that I hadn't been entirely faithful, I would never have murdered Charles. You see, there was a man who lived in the same neighborhood as us. His name was Guy Mackenzie, and he was such a sweet talker. Charles was gone so often, and Guy was such a lovely companion. But I loved my family. I would never resort to anything as unthinkable as murder. After a long and dreadful trial that dragged not only my fair name through the mud, but subjected my children to unspeakable trauma, the jury came back with their verdict. I sat on a bench with my 2 children on my lap. I was confident the jury would vindicate me, that they would say it had all been a horrible mistake, that there's no way that I could have murdered my dear Charles. I was wrong. I lived the remainder of my life wondering who it was that did kill my sweet husband. Was it Guy Mackenzie? Or was it some random thief? I don't know. But one thing I do know, it was not me. I would never kill the man that I loved. And I have never lost one moment of sleep at night with the guilt of having killed a man. But I suppose I will spend the rest of my afterlife wandering the halls of these old buildings, trying to convince anyone that will listen that I am not a murderer. The problem is, so very few will stop to listen.